Go. Okay, so this is our project, the final assignment for CTS 1500 called The War of Lies. My name is Gabriel
My
Lopez.
name is Luis Jimenez.
My name is Parker Fabian.
My name is Anthony Sierra.
My name is Georgia Nahal.
My name is Tybo.
Okay, so this is just a content slide going over the presentation. So we're going to start now with the introduction. So Russia is a number one culprit in misinformation and using it in war as a tactic. So uh, Russia uses social media platforms such as messaging apps, online news, Instagram, stuff like that as tools to influence what people believe is happening in the conflict with Ukraine and Russia. So, as tensions rise up, they've been using propaganda, fake accounts, manipulated videos, and misleading claims. So, by spreading these conflicting narratives and false information, they confuse the audiences and it damages trust in Ukrainian institutions as well as Western countries such as ourselves. So, in this presentation, we're just going to break down what that looks like. So there's three major strategies. Misinformation, things that are false but is shared by people who think they're true. Disinformation, intentionally false content designed to deceive. And malinformation, which is real information taken out of context to cause harm.
So this is the strategic reasoning behind Russia's disinformation campaign. One of the ways Russia does this is through the use of information alibis, which is the preemptive disinformation um, of false information to deflect responsibility, but for crimes committed by the actual perpetrating state. You can see this with the Mariupol drama theater bombings, where after which their Telegram war on fakes stated that there were no injuries and that they used models to fake images. The main what this all leads to is to weaken Ukraine's support from allies, damage morale of Ukrainians, and harm Ukraine's civilians.
So, Russia's information strategy has been a main tool in its war against Ukraine. Most of it centers on shaping narratives, for example, portraying Ukraine as a Nazi or failed state, exaggerating divisions, and denying Russian atrocities. Russia also allows battlefield rumors and false casualty numbers to circulate whenever they serve its interest. The overall goal is clear: justify an aggression to confuse global audiences and undermine efforts to end the conflict. Now, to spread these narratives effectively, Russia uses a multi-layered information ecosystem. This includes state media, online platforms, and coordinated cyber operations, pushing the same messages across TV, multilingual outlets, and platforms like X, YouTube, and Telegram. Russia also deploys cyber tactics such as hashtag hacking, spoofing, and phishing. With generative AI, they can create realistic fake images, videos, and text targeted for uninformed audiences and lower morale. Furthermore, bot networks and troll accounts amplify these narratives by creating the illusion of widespread support and by attacking critics. Deepfakes make disinformation even more convincing by adding visual and emotional realism. A clear example came in 2022 when a hacked Ukrainian channel briefly aired a deepfake of President Zelensky telling troops to surrender. Even though it was quickly debunked, it showed how synthetic media combined with bot amplification can destabilize public perception and keep Ukraine and its allies constantly reacting.
All right, so impact on regional and global conflict. The first point is destabilizing Eastern European states. One major impact has been the destabilization of countries around Ukraine, most notably places like Poland, Moldova, and the Baltic states. Russia pushes targeted narratives about refugees, NATO aggression, or Western interference, and these messages are engineered to hit political pressure points inside each country. The goal isn't to convince everyone, it's to amplify divisions, weaken trust in government, and make these states hesitate before supporting Ukraine or aligning themselves more closely with the West. Russia knows hesitation is strategic advantage. The second point is influence in the global south. Russia leans heavily on anti-colonial sentiment and reframes the Ukraine war as a struggle against Western dominance. That message resonates in parts of Africa and Latin America where people have historical grievances with European or US interference. And this has worked. Russia has gained sympathy, or at the very least, neutrality, from countries that would normally stay out of European conflicts. It positions Russia as an alternative ally, and that weakens Western attempts to isolate it politically. A global shift in counter disinformation. And the last key impact is global response. Governments, NATO, and the EU no longer treat disinformation as a side effect of conflict. They now treat it as a core national security issue. It's something you actively plan for, just like cyber defense or military logistics. Even countries far from the conflict across Latin America, Africa, and Asia are now building their own systems to counter false information. Russia's campaign basically forced the world to realize the digital space is a battlefield, and ignoring it means you're already losing.
Okay, so this is consequences for other countries and regions, and we're going to be focusing on Poland, as they are a major ally of Ukraine. Russia has been pushing out propaganda to insinuate that all Ukrainians are criminals and are taking away welfare from Poland's people. The consequences of this is basically to get Poland to reduce the amount of aid they are sending to Ukraine, if not dissolute their alliance altogether, so it makes them more susceptible to attack from Russia.
So real quick, I'm going to talk about these two things. First off, you have the evaluation of campaign effectiveness. Domestic control. Russia relied on state-controlled media and strict censorship to spread propaganda, shaping public perception and minimizing dissent within its own population. And then you have regional variation, which is Western governments and media quickly countered misinformation, while regions with weaker regulatory structures struggle to contain the spread. And then you have limited global impact, which has to do with despite sustaining the campaign over time, Russia failed to gain significant international support or meaningfully influence foreign policy decisions. Then you have the ongoing status of the campaign. So, under tech-driven adaptation from 2023 to 2025, Russia's campaign has remained active and adaptive, increasingly using AI-assisted tools such as bot networks, deep fakes, and social media amplification to expand its reach. Yeah, under platform leverage, channels like Telegram have been key for spreading narratives, especially in regions with limited monitoring and weaker social media oversight. And then persistent but limited impact. Russia continues to push narratives domestically and internationally, showing a commitment to influence even though its overall impact remains modest.
Okay, so what can we do about this? First off, we have to empower the public. We need a national digital literacy program. The the main thing of disinformation is if the citizens aren't informed, they can be affected by this information and they'll view it, they'll share it, it keeps spreading, which is very, very bad. That's what they want. So the first step is to have a strong population that is aware of these things and we can train them with a program. The second thing is we need to hold the platforms that post these things accountable, such as, Instagram, TikTok. These are like the main platforms that, people in the West, scroll on to see this information. We need to be able to flag the posts. We can leave the post up, that can be up for debate, but we need to be able to flag them as potential threats and false posts. So at least when you're watching the post or you're looking at it, you know that it's not to take in, seriously or truthfully. And we also need to have global alliances with other, major corporate nations. Last thing. So as a conclusion, just to wrap everything up, disinformation isn't just propaganda anymore. This is a core component of modern conflict. This has been seen as very, very well in the Russian campaign. So it's gonna be here forever. It's technology is only going to advance. So if we want to fight it, we have to start now, and it starts with, building a strong network. Here are references, and thank you for listening.